Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about buying a home in 2022. What that means, what you should be looking for, how the markets might be, kind of some predictions in that way, but just things to be aware of. So here we go. So the new year is upon us, and it's around this time of year that a lot of people are coming off of the holidays. They've had all the time to just kind of sit back, relax a little bit, and now it's time to get back to work. Now it's the new year. You either got New Year's resolutions, you got stuff you want to accomplish. Maybe it's one of those things is buying a house, and maybe taking a look at your finances, things like that. Well, if you are looking to buy a home this year, and it's something that is on your agenda, it's something that you want to do, then just stay tuned. We're going to talk about that. So one of the things, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for a lot of people, maybe this might be the first time you've ever seen any of my videos. One of the biggest things that I talk about, because I've been in this industry now over 8 years. I've worked as a loan officer, I've worked on teams, I'm a loan processor now for an entire branch in Southern California, and I work with a lot of people. So, and over that time, over working with probably thousands of people getting prepared to buy a home, most of them aren't able to do it right away. I would say about 80% of the people I would talk to would have something they needed to work on. It was either they hadn't been on their job long enough, they didn't have enough money saved, their FICO scores were a little too low, any number of things would keep them from being able to buy at that time. And what I would do is I would take a look at their whole financial picture, and I would say, okay, here's where you are, and if this is where you want to be, these are the things you need to do to get there. Either saving money, working on credit, or spending more time on your job, or getting a different kind of job, something that paid differently. Not necessarily just always having to be paid more, but just being paid differently can sometimes make a difference. If you're self-employed, you got to have at least 2 years of tax returns being self-employed to be able to use that income. If you got a second job, you need to have 2 years of working a second job in order to use that income. Not a lot of people know that. They just think, oh, I'll just get 2 or 3 jobs, work really hard during the holiday season, and then I'll be good to go. In terms of your income, it might help you during that time, but we can't use that when you're qualifying to purchase. So just a few things like that to be aware of. But that's where I always start, is you need to know what your numbers are. So if you don't know any loan officers, if you don't know any realtors, talk to your friends and family. See who they used, if they've ever purchased a home, if they purchased recently. Who do they use? Who do they recommend? Getting direct referrals from friends or family to people is honestly one of the best ways to get connected with a good professional. Because someone who really takes pride in their work and does a good job, they're going to leave a lasting impression on who they work with. And those people are the ones that are going to be their greatest cheerleaders. They're going to say, I'm a fan of this person, work with them. So use that to get a good connection to someone who can look at your stuff. Then you get everything reviewed. You're going to talk to them. You're going to give them documentation. They're going to run your credit. They're going to look at your entire financial picture and help you see what you can get pre-approved for. So step 1 is have someone look at your stuff. Step 2, for this year, if you're looking at it in a big shot and you just kind of want to see what's going on, what are some indicators, is look at how many houses are for sale in your neighborhood. If there's not a lot for sale, especially right now, it makes sense. We're in winter. As we start coming off of winter, we start going to spring, you're going to start seeing a lot of houses start coming up for sale. When that happens, take a look at how much they're going for, especially if it's in your neighborhood where maybe you're renting right now, or a neighborhood that's right next to where you might be in an apartment, or if you're just living with somebody else. Take a look at what's going on in that neighborhood. What's happening now is a lot of people that couldn't sell their homes through the winter are still trying to, and you're going to start seeing prices usually dip. But as we start going into spring, more and more houses are going to start going on the market, and then in the more demand areas, so like the coastlines, or a lot of people are still moving to Texas and Tennessee, and people are leaving New York and they're going south and they're coming to the Carolinas, they're going to Florida. There's a lot of kind of migration going on too that's going to affect house prices. So first, know what your numbers are, get checked out by a professional. Keep an eye on your direct neighborhood, or take a look of where you want to live, where you want to be. Think, I want to buy in that neighborhood if you're set on it, or in this school district. Keep an eye on what actually goes up for sale. So just keep an eye out for it. And then at least have an idea of what prices are and if that's something that you might be able to afford. So if you know your numbers and you know what they're going for, you should know kind of where you should be. Now, rates are slated to start to go up this year. Now, they ebb and flow, and they've ebbed and flowed. I've been in the industry, like I said, about 8 years. In 8 years, I've seen them go up into the 5% and then back down into the 3% and even the 2% and then back up and down and up and down and up and down. And that's pretty much all they've done. They've just kind of undulated between one extreme and the other in that time. And right now we're kind of still on the low side, so they are slated to kind of inch back up a bit. Now, if you're looking to purchase at your maximum, you're trying to, I need to buy a home, but I only qualify for X. And X is barely out there. If the interest rates go up 0.5% or a whole percent, sometimes even 0.25%, if you're at your max, you don't qualify for what you're looking to do. You need to be aware of that as well, of the rate environment. And your professional loan officer, the person you speak with, will be able to tell you what the rates are at that time when you get checked out. Even if you're not going to buy for 6 months, at least know kind of where you are at that point, and then maybe have a contingency if rates go up 0.5%. Something to be aware of, because I've had people get pre-approved and then they take 3 or 4 months to find a property for whatever reason. And they might be using down payment assistance or something that's very restrictive on the interest rate where you don't have a lot of control over it, and the rates go up 0.5% and now that person doesn't qualify, and now they got to look for a cheaper property, and that's not what they wanted. So you want to just avoid those things and be aware of it. So if you want to buy a house this year, these are just some things to be aware of. You got to talk to a professional and get everything started. But you also need to be aware of your local market and where you're looking to buy, and keep an eye on things. So we're in winter, there's not a lot of stuff for sale. What is for sale has mostly been sitting. You might be able to get a good deal. I've talked about that in previous videos, when to buy. Spring, you're gonna start seeing more houses come up on the market, but you also might see prices come up depending on the area you're looking in. Because even though more is on the market, there might be a lot of people looking to buy. So if you have a lot of buyers and not a lot of houses on the market, it's going to be a seller's market. They're going to be pushing the prices up. If you get a lot of houses on the market and they're not moving, they're just sitting, things might shift. You might have less buyers out there, and now it's a buyer's market, and you might be able to be a little more, you might be able to offer a little bit less than what's for asking. But at least over the last 3 or 4 years, it's pretty much been a seller's market. Inventory has been low everywhere. It's just how it's been. There hasn't been a lot of houses available. The pandemic probably had a lot to do with that, with lumber and cost and manufacturing, but that's just something that has occurred over the last few years. So I wouldn't count on that if that's what you're waiting for. I remember talking to people maybe 3 years ago saying, I'm waiting for this bubble to pop. I'm waiting for the home prices to just dip. And I was kind of like, we don't really have anything indicating that's going to happen. Things might slow down and you might see some prices pull back, but you're not going to see what happened when the bubble popped in the real estate market, because there isn't all these bad loans that are going to cause it. Everyone who's bought over the last 10 to 12 years have been fully credit and income qualified to buy their homes. They didn't buy on some weird product that was going to change and then maybe force them out of their house, which is what happened before. Well, partly, but anyone who knows how complicated that whole thing is, it was very complicated. But that was the main thing, that people bought stuff with products that they shouldn't have been using, that shouldn't have been available for most people, and they lost their homes. So things to be aware of coming this year. Now, if you like this content, and if you want to see more of it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you have any questions. Like I said, I work mostly in Southern California, but I could also work in Nevada, Arizona. Somewhat familiar with those markets, but mostly in California. But the housing markets as a whole, kind of everywhere, are very similar to each other right now. Even in places like Alabama, North Carolina, Florida, Texas is high demand, Tennessee's high demand, Idaho's a high demand. So you kind of have some interesting things happening there. But if you have any questions, comment down below. And yeah, we'll catch you in this new year of 2022 and see where it goes. So take care.